Although the word Taliban gets a lot of attention in international media, there has always been a mystery shrouded around who these Taliban are, what ideology they follow, and their origins. When, after a decade-long war, Soviet Union broke up and left in 1989, Afghanistan soon found itself in the middle of civil wars among various fractions who were previously fighting together against a common enemy, the communist regime of Soviet Union. Most of the districts and provinces were now contested by various militia groups and warlords. There was no central government in control of the country as such. And lawlessness was the common sight. Afghanistan has always been a complex multi-ethnic society. Pashtuns are the largest majority, followed by Tajik, Uzbek, Hazara and others. Pashtun majority wished to go back to its glorious past and establish the new modern version of its golden age, the Durrani Empire that lasted between 18th to 20th century. In southern Afghanistan, the highway connecting Turkmenistan to Pakistan via Rat and Kandahar cities was now controlled by powerful warlords, who will collect toll on passing trucks. Pakistan was keen to establish trade routes with newly created Central Asian republics. The issue, however, was the lack of a proper central government in Kabul that could guarantee security for these trading routes. Pakistan's Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto consulted with General Nasiullah Babar, her interior minister, and they thought that while the Kabul route is risky, the southern route through Kandahar could be a better option to open trade with Central Asia. Southern Afghanistan was in disarray though. During this time, a new local group of religious students named Taliban became popular in Kandahar region. Their leader was Mullah Omar, who is said to have born in around 1959 in Noide village near Kandahar city. He belonged to a poor peasant family, and lost his father while he was young. Mullah Omar himself fought against communist Soviets and considered himself part of the Mujahideen group. After the war was over, he moved to a small village named Singizar. He started teaching at the local madrasa there. Omar is described by those who know him as a simple and shy person. During this period, several mythological stories became popular among local population about Taliban. The most commonly referred to was the story of how Mullah Omar and his Taliban group went to fight with a local warlord and freed a kidnapped girl. It was during this period of extreme lawlessness when people started seeing Taliban as rescuers from powerful warlords. In the spring of 1994, Taliban were requested by the parents of a local boy who was kidnapped by a warlord. Taliban again rescued this boy and also got hold of large ammunition by killing that kidnapper. In neighboring Pakistan, the Taliban were getting attraction within the powerful military circle. Maulana Fazlur Rahman, who ran local madrasas in Pakistan, had close ties with military and ISI. Maulana also managed to establish links with rising power of Taliban in Kandahar region of Afghanistan. Pakistan, with its weaker economy, was looking for establishing new trade routes. Bhutto came up with this doctrine of Pakistan becoming the super-state between Middle East and newly created Central Asian countries. Since Pakistan had access to sea, it saw itself as the ideal geographic location for facilitating such trade routes. Only, if Afghanistan could guarantee security for this new business. In September 1994, Pakistani officials traveled to southern Afghanistan region to estimate how much would it cost to build the necessary infrastructure for securing such trade routes. Local militia groups saw these plans as an attempt to overtake Afghanistan and put the region within Pakistani borders. After a successful transit of one truck full of medicine, Pakistan decided to send a larger shipment of textile products to Turkmenistan this time. The shipment, however, was stopped by a group of warlords who asked for ransom to be paid. Pakistan tried to negotiate with these groups, but they insisted on ransom to be paid before the shipment could be allowed to leave for Ashgabat city. Isaiah asked Maulana Fazlur Rahman if he could help negotiate with these groups through his close contracts with Taliban in southern Afghanistan region. Taliban obliged happily and helped getting Pakistani shipment rescued. Pakistan and Taliban were now in good books of each other. ISI helped Taliban by providing further ammunition with a promise to secure the trading routes for them. In October 1994, Taliban took control of Spun Boldak, the city at the Pakistani border. This was a sign that the monopoly, previously enjoyed by the transport mafia and warlords, was under threat now. However, this wasn't the only thing that Taliban wanted to achieve. Taliban, as previously discussed, belonged to the Durrani tribe of Pashtun ethnicity. The same ethnic group that unified and ruled Afghanistan 3 centuries ago. Given the current lawlessness, it was only natural that people would want to go back to the previously relatively stable times, such as either Durrani Empire or the era of King Zahir Shah. Taliban not only wanted to establish the Pashtun authority back, but they also believed that a true Islamic empire was the only way forward from here. During a meeting with Saudi authorities later, Taliban asked them for the guidance and education on how to rule the country with Saudi-styled Islamic principles. After securing the checkpost at Spun Boldak, Taliban marched towards the city center of Kandahar and took control of the city. Mullah Naqib and his forces did not try resisting against Taliban, and the small mysterious force was now controlling the second largest city in Afghanistan. In Pakistan, General Babar is remembered, famously quoting in front of media, "Taliban, our boys." By December 1994, thousands of Pashtun madrasa students were traveling to Kandahar to join Taliban. Most of these new recruits were as young as 15 to 25 years old. These boys were raised without much interaction with women, as they were orphans and had no mothers or sisters. For them, woman was a distraction and must stay at home, looking after family affairs. When Taliban advocated for strict, conservative rules for women, it wasn't unusual for these new recruiters as much as it was for the outside world. According to some estimates, by the end of 1994, around 12,000 students had joined Taliban's newly formed brotherhood with two clear objectives. First, to put an end to the lawlessness, and second, to establish a true Islamic empire according to their own interpretation. Benazir Bhutto was in Manila during the second month of 1995. By this time, there was enormous international pressure on Pakistan to explain its position on Taliban. Bhutto denied Pakistan's role in creating Taliban, or if she had a favorite group in Afghanistan. "We want to see peace in Afghanistan," she said. "These students are Pashtun, who lost their families during Soviet-Afghan war. If they want to go back and join Taliban, or any other group, I cannot stop them from doing so." Taliban were making quick gains on the other hand. They introduced strictest Islamic rules ever seen by anyone, anywhere else. They closed girls' schools, ordered boys to maintain beard, banned women from working outside their homes, smashed TV sets and forbade sports, except for the football. The world was watching all these developments with great concerns while the fighting continued in northern region, and no clear winner in Kabul to form government. In the next few months, however, Taliban were to show their lack of experience. They suffered a pushback on multiple fronts, including by the forces of legendary commander from Northern Alliance, Ahmad Shah Massoud. These setbacks made Pakistani establishment worried one more time. Pakistan was getting impatient as there was no clear winner to form government in Kabul, and their plan to secure new trading routes was only becoming a distant reality. Pakistan, then started providing aid and training to Taliban with a hope that they could form a Pashtun-majority government in Afghanistan. By the time, Saudi Arabia was also in support of Taliban, as the most likely candidate who could possibly form government in Kabul. Around September 1995, Taliban managed to gain control of southwestern city of Herat. The city has a large Persian-speaking population and is located on an important trading route with Iran. Herat is an oasis city, cradle of Afghanistan's 5,000 years old civilization. People of Herat saw Taliban as ultra-conservative, illiterate force with a great misinterpreted version of Islam they were trying to impose on everyone. Nevertheless, Taliban were able to gain control of this important city, solidifying their position further. This resulted in the relations between Kabul and Islamabad to sink to its lowest levels by the autumn of 1995. On 4th of April 1996, Mullah Omar was sworn as caliph. In Muslim society, the concept of taking oath as caliph has a great symbolic significance. This meant that the other groups were now going to accept Taliban rule, and cooperate with them in capturing Kabul to form government. After the fall of Herat, this event was seen as the beginning of the end of President Rabbani's government in Kabul. These moves had now shook the whole region as Iran, Russia, and India were also getting involved. Iran was concerned with a rigid Sunni Muslim group taking control of neighboring Afghanistan, while Russia saw Taliban as staunch opponent to communist sympathizers in Afghanistan. In United States, Clinton administration was providing mixed signals, as they didn't want to be seen supporting Taliban. At one stage, US also proposed international arms embargo on Afghanistan. The plan, however, never became a reality. As Iran and Russia increased their support for Northern Alliance, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia stepped up its aid and support for Taliban forces. Although never announced, US was clearly in support of Taliban at this stage since it did not want Iran to gain influence in region. After a few failed attempts, on 26 September 1996, Taliban entered in Kabul, and announced Islamic Emirate. Ahmad Shah Massoud and his forces had already left Kabul a day before Taliban capturing the capital city of Afghanistan. Similar to Herat city, Taliban treated the relatively educated, semi-liberal population of Kabul as an occupied city. The strict Sharia rules imposed by Taliban were extremely unpopular in Kabul, though they had little choice but to comply with the new rules. The major shock for the world would come the day after. After capturing Kabul, Taliban entered the UN compound and arrested Dr. Najib. He served as the president of Afghanistan between 1989 to 1992. Ahmad Shah Massoud had offered Najib a safe exit a day before this. He wanted Najib to leave for India and join his family there. Najib, however, refused this proposal. Najib didn't want to be remembered in history as a leader in exile. Taliban arrested him and his brother and hanged them on road. According to Taliban, Najib was a communist, Soviet agent, and a murderer of thousands of Muslim Afghans during his rule as president. Following books and other reference material was used while researching for this topic. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel to be notified for future videos on timeline of historical, economics, geopolitical events, and famous personalities.